Ready to kind of toss out the old marketing playbook, and try something truly different. We're diving into promotion. It's Chapter 7 of Rework by Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansen. You'll learn all about why being a little obscure might just be like your secret weapon, and how thinking like, well, a drug dealer, ethically, of course, can help you build a loyal customer base.
Yeah, Fried and Hansen, they really turn traditional marketing on its head, instead of big flashy campaigns. They're really advocating for building a really loyal audience just by sharing your expertise and making your business, truly remarkable.
I was really struck by their whole idea of embracing obscurity. It seems a little counterintuitive at first, and we all kind of want to be in the spotlight, but they make a pretty compelling case for using those early, less-known stages to your advantage.
Yeah, it's like a chef perfecting a recipe, before they open their restaurant. In those early days, you kind of have the freedom to just experiment, without that pressure of a huge audience watching your every move. So you can try new things, iterate quickly, and really hone your craft.
So instead of stressing about reaching millions right away, you should focus on refining your product or service, finding your unique voice, and just making sure everything is top-notch before you hit the big stage.
Exactly. It's like a band playing small gigs, just to work out their sound before they, try for that record deal. Fried and Hansen, they even compare it to Broadway shows, doing those trial runs in smaller cities before they ever hit Broadway. Obscurity gives you that valuable breathing room.
And then they shift gears a little bit and talk about the power of building an audience. And they really hammer home the point that a dedicated group of followers, it's worth more than fleeting attention from millions.
Yeah, think about it. Would you rather have 100,000 people truly engaged with your content, or a million people who just kind of scroll past an ad? They use their own blog as a prime example. Signal versus noise, which has a massive following of people who are genuinely interested in, their insights.
And they built that following organically, right? No huge ad campaigns, just consistently sharing really valuable content.
Exactly. It's about earning attention, not renting it. The difference between having a packed house at a local theater production versus, a few scattered viewers on a national TV commercial. One is filled with people who actively chose to be there, while the other is just kind of hoping to catch a few eyeballs in passing.
Okay, buckle up for this next one. They actually recommend, get this, out teaching your competition. Now, in a cutthroat business world, this seems almost crazy.
It might seem counterintuitive, but think about it. When you share your knowledge freely, you position yourself as an expert, and people start to see you as the go-to source in your field.
And it builds trust.
Right.
People think, hey, if they're willing to share this much for free, imagine how great their paid products or services must be.
Exactly. They use the example of Hofler Type Foundry. This is a company that teaches designers about typography through its blog and educational resources. And they've built a reputation for, expertise. And they've attracted a loyal following of designers who really trust their products.
It reminds me of Gary Vaynerchuk and his Wine Library TV. He built this huge audience by just openly sharing his knowledge about wine, even though he was running a wine retail business.
Exactly. And think about companies like Etsy. They offer workshops and courses to help their sellers succeed, which in turn makes Etsy a more vibrant and successful platform.
So rather than hoarding your knowledge like some kind of trade secret, use it to empower your audience. It's a win-win.
Absolutely. And big companies, they often struggle with this. They're so focused on protecting their secrets that they miss out on the opportunity to connect their audience in this way.
Okay, I love this next analogy. Fried and Hansen compare businesses to chefs, saying we should be as open with our recipes as chefs are with theirs.
Think about it. A chef might share their recipe for a signature dish, in a cookbook or on a cooking show. They're not worried that people will stop coming to their restaurant just because they know the recipe.
Right, because the recipe is just one part of the experience. There's the atmosphere, the service, the chef's own unique twist on the dish. It's the same with any business, really.
Exactly. By sharing your secret sauce, you're not giving away the whole game. You're building trust, demonstrating expertise, and showing people what makes you unique.
It reminds me of those reality shows that kind of take you behind the scenes, of these seemingly ordinary jobs. Who would have thought that watching crab fishermen on Deadliest Catch could be so fascinating?
Right. It's that transparency and authenticity that draws people in. They see the hard work, the passion, the real people behind the product or service.
And that resonates far more deeply than a slick ad campaign ever could.
Absolutely. So what if you thought of your business as a reality show? What would you share with your audience? What goes on behind the scenes that might surprise them or intrigue them?
What's fascinating is Fried and Hansen, they also encourage us to embrace our flaws. They even bring up the Japanese principle of wabi-sabi, which is all about finding beauty in imperfection.
Yeah, it's the opposite of that polished, airbrushed perfection
Hmm.
that we often see in marketing. They argue that showing your flaws, it can actually make you more relatable and trustworthy.
Because it's real. People are tired of fake perfection. It makes you wonder if these guys had a crystal ball, because this advice is even more relevant today
Mhm.
than when the book was first published.
It's like admitting you don't have all the answers. Instead of pretending to be perfect, you acknowledge your challenges, you share your mistakes, and you show people that you're constantly learning and evolving.
And this whole idea of, being real ties into their next point, which is about ditching the traditional press release.
Oh, they really go after press releases. They call them spam, basically, and argue that they're completely ineffective.
Because they're generic, impersonal. Often they just end up in the trash.
Exactly. Instead of blasting out a generic press release to every media outlet under the sun, they recommend building personal relationships with journalists and bloggers who cover your industry.
So it's about quality over quantity. Find the people who are actually interested in what you do and tell them your story in a genuine, compelling way.
It's like the difference between sending out a mass email and writing a handwritten note. One feels impersonal and spammy, while the other feels thoughtful and personal.
And while we're on the subject of ditching old school marketing tactics, they also advise forgetting about the big media outlets, at least for now, which again seems a little crazy.
Their argument is it's incredibly difficult to get noticed by those big publications, especially when you're starting out. It's like trying to get your book reviewed in the New York Times when you're a self-published author.
It's a long shot. And even if you do manage to get some coverage, it might not reach your ideal audience.
Exactly. They suggest focusing on smaller niche publications and blogs where you have a better chance of getting noticed, and building early momentum. It's like playing smaller venues, where you can really connect with your fans before you try for that stadium tour.
They actually share their own experience, explaining that they saw more direct results from articles in smaller, targeted outlets than from features in major publications. It's a good reminder that it's not always about reaching the biggest possible audience, but the right audience.
Exactly. It's about finding those communities where your message truly resonates and where you can build a loyal following.
Oh, now for the idea that really made me stop and think. They suggest, wait for it, thinking like a drug dealer.
Ethically, of course. This is one of those ideas that just seems outrageous at first, but actually has some real marketing wisdom behind it.
So break it down for us. What do drug dealers have to do with running a legitimate business?
Well, Fried and Hansen point out that drug dealers, they are masters at offering a taste. They give you a little sample for free, knowing that once you experience the product, you'll be hooked.
So it's about giving people a risk-free way to experience the value of what you offer, and building confidence and leaving them wanting more.
Exactly. Think about those free samples at the grocery store. You know they're designed to entice you, to give you a taste of something delicious. That makes you want to buy the whole package.
Or like free trials for software. You get to use the software for a limited time, and if you like it, you're more likely to become a paying customer.
Exactly. The challenge for businesses is to figure out what their version of that irresistible taste might be. What can you offer that gives people a genuine sense of the value that you provide?
It can be a free consultation, a mini course, a downloadable guide, or even just a really compelling piece of content. That showcases your expertise. The key is to be creative and find that hook that will leave people wanting more.
And once you've got that hook, you need to have something else to sell. You need to capitalize on that initial interest and turn those samplers into loyal, paying customers.
So it's not enough to just give something away for free. You have to have a clear path for those taste testers to become raving fans who are eager to buy from you.
Precisely.
Yeah.
That free sample is just the first step. You need to nurture those relationships, continue providing value, and build a business that truly delivers on its promises.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here, from embracing obscurity to thinking like an ethical drug dealer. But there's so much more to unpack in this chapter. Ready to keep diving in? All right, let's jump back into Rework and all of Fried and Hansen's unconventional marketing strategies. Remember how they advised just ditching the press release?
Yeah.
And like forgetting about chasing all the big media outlets?
It's definitely a bold move, but they make a pretty compelling case for just focusing your energy on building relationships with smaller, niche publications and blogs.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive. You'd think Any business would want to be featured in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times.
Hmm.
But Fried and Hansen argue those big outlets are actually not the best use of your time, especially when you're first starting out.
Think about it. Getting coverage in those major publications, I mean, it's incredibly competitive. You're up against these huge companies with massive PR teams and budgets.
And even if you do manage to land a story in a major publication, it might not even resonate with your target audience. It's like trying to sell, I don't know, vegan burgers at a steakhouse. You might get a few curious bites, but it's not exactly the ideal place to reach your core customers.
Exactly. Fried and Hansen believe you're much better off targeting niche publications and blogs that really cater to your specific audience. Those outlets are often a lot more receptive to stories from smaller businesses, and they usually have a more engaged readership.
It's like finding your tribe. Those readers are already interested in your industry or your niche, so they're a lot more likely to pay attention to your message.
Exactly, and the journalists at those smaller publications are often looking for fresh stories, unique angles, and new voices. They're not as inundated with pitches as those editors at the big-name outlets.
So it's a win-win. You have a better chance of getting that coverage, and your story is more likely to reach the right people.
Precisely. And Fried and Hansen, they actually share their own experience with this. They found that they got way more traffic and engagement from articles in smaller, more targeted outlets than they did from features in major publications.
It's a good reminder that sometimes less is more. It's not always about reaching the largest audience, but it's about reaching the right audience. So if we're not sending out those press releases and chasing the Wall Street Journal, what should we be doing to get the word out?
Well, Fried and Hansen have a pretty simple yet powerful answer: be remarkable.
That sounds so obvious, but it's something that a lot of businesses really struggle with. How do you actually be remarkable? What does that even mean?
It's about doing things that stand out, things that make people take notice. Think about all the noise out there, all those companies vying for attention. If you really want to cut through the clutter, you need to do something different, something memorable.
So it's not just about having a great product or service. It's about how you present it to the world. It's about telling your story in a way that captivates people, that makes them want to learn more.
Exactly. Think about, those products or brands that have really captured your attention. What made them stand out? What made them memorable?
Yeah, it's often something a little unexpected, something that kind of breaks the mold, like that quirky ad campaign that everyone's talking about, or that company that does something totally radical to support a cause that they really believe in.
Exactly. It's about finding your unique voice, your unique angle, and really owning it. Don't be afraid to be different. In fact, in today's crowded marketplace, being different is often the best way to get noticed.
Yeah, Fried and Hansen even suggest making a list of all the things that your competitors would never do and then doing those things. It's a great way to challenge conventions and find some really creative ways to stand out.
It's about being bold, being daring, and taking risks. And it's not just about being different for the sake of being different. It's about being authentic to who you are and what your business stands for.
So there's a combination of having a great product or service, telling your story in a really compelling way, and doing things that are truly unique and memorable.
Exactly. It's about creating a buzz, generating word of mouth, and getting people talking about your business.
So we've talked about embracing obscurity, building an audience, and being remarkable. Now, how do we bring all of these ideas together to create a sustainable, successful business?
Well, that's where their concept of long-term thinking comes in. Fried and Hansen argue that you shouldn't be chasing those quick wins or getting caught up in the latest marketing trends.
It's about building a business that's built to last, a business that can withstand the ups and downs of the market.
Exactly. They use the analogy of farming. You don't plant a seed today and expect to harvest a crop tomorrow. It takes time, patience, and consistent effort to cultivate a really successful farm.
It's the same with building a business. You need to have a long-term vision, a clear understanding of your goals, and the persistence to keep going even when things get tough.
They also emphasize the importance of building a strong foundation. Don't cut corners or try to get rich quick. Focus on creating a solid product or service, building a really loyal customer base, and establishing a reputation for quality and integrity.
It's like building a house. You need a strong foundation to support the rest of the structure. If you rush the foundation, the whole house is at risk.
Exactly. And that long-term thinking should inform every aspect of your business, from your product development to your marketing strategy.
Yeah, it's not about chasing those fads or trying to game the system. It's about creating something of value that will stand the test of time.
They even encourage businesses to think of themselves as a product. Just like Apple is constantly iterating and improving its products, you should be constantly looking for ways to improve and refine your business.
It's about being adaptable, being open to change, and always striving to be better.
And that commitment to continuous improvement will not only make your business stronger, but it'll also make it more resilient. You'll be better equipped to adapt to changes in the market, whether those economic storms, and stay ahead of the competition.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of long-term thinking and building a strong foundation. But how do we actually put these ideas into practice? Where do we even begin?
Well, remember that analogy of businesses being like chefs? Fried and Hansen take that idea a step further. They encourage businesses to emulate chefs.
So we're not just sharing our recipes metaphorically, we're actually sharing our knowledge and expertise with the world.
Exactly. Think about how chefs operate. They write cookbooks, they host those cooking shows, they teach cooking classes. They're not afraid to share their secrets because they know that sharing their knowledge, it doesn't diminish their value, it actually enhances it.
It establishes them as experts and builds trust with their audience.
Exactly. And Fried and Hansen believe that businesses can benefit from the same approach. By sharing your insights, your processes, and even your mistakes, you can really position yourself as like a thought leader in your industry.
It's about shifting your mindset from secrecy and competition to collaboration and openness. It's about building a community around your business, a community of people who are really interested in what you do and eager to learn from you.
It's a really powerful way to build trust, establish credibility, and create a loyal following. And it doesn't have to be anything complicated or time-consuming. It could be as simple as sharing a behind-the-scenes video on social media or writing a blog post about your process.
They even suggest imagining that someone wanted to make a reality show about your business. What would they share? What behind-the-scenes glimpses would really resonate with your audience?
It's a fun exercise that can help you think about your business in a new way. What's interesting or unique about what you do? What stories could you tell that would capture people's attention?
It's about finding the human element in your business and sharing it with the world.
Exactly. Now, are you ready to tackle one of the most controversial ideas in the book?
Bring it on. You're talking about the drug dealer analogy, right? It's
Mhm.
definitely one of the most memorable and perhaps eyebrow-raising concepts that they introduce.
It certainly grabs your attention, but if you can look past the initial shock value, there's actually a lot of marketing wisdom hidden within this analogy.
So for those who haven't read the book, break it down for us. What do drug dealers have to do with marketing a legitimate business?
Well, Fried and Hansen point out that drug dealers, they're masters at creating a hook. They know that their product is so good that they're willing to give a little away for free up front, confident that people will come back for more.
Yeah, it's about creating that initial taste, that irresistible sample that leaves people wanting more. And it's not about being deceptive or manipulative. It's about having that much confidence in the value of what you offer, that you're willing to give a little away for free to prove it.
Exactly. Think about the software industry. Free trials. They're a classic example of this drug dealer model in action. You get a taste of the software's capabilities for a limited time. And if you like what you experience, well, you're more likely to sign up for a paid subscription.
Yeah, it's a low-risk way for potential customers to experience the value of the product before they actually commit to buying it. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not just limited to software. Think about those free samples at grocery stores, test drives at car dealerships, or even those complimentary consultations that are offered by service providers. It's all about giving people a risk-free way to experience the value of what you offer.
The challenge, of course, is figuring out what that irresistible sample looks like for your product or service.
Yeah, it might be a free trial, a mini course, a downloadable guide, or even just a really compelling piece of content that showcases your expertise. The key is to just be creative and find that hook that will leave people wanting more.
And once you've got that hook, the next step is making sure you have something else to sell. You have to be ready to capitalize on that initial interest and turn those samplers into paying customers. Otherwise, you'll just be giving away free stuff without seeing any return on your investment.
Exactly. You need to have a clear path for those freebie lovers to become loyal paying customers. You need to have a compelling offer, a seamless sales process, and a product or service that truly delivers on its promise.
And this brings us right back to their emphasis on long-term thinking. You're not just looking for those quick wins. You're building a sustainable business that can thrive over the long haul.
Precisely. And that brings us to another crucial concept that Fried and Hansen highlight. It's the importance of building a strong brand. They argue that your brand is so much more than just a logo or a tagline.
It's the sum total of everything you do. everything you say
Yeah.
and everything you stand for.
Yeah. It's the feeling that people get when they interact with your company, your products, your services. And in today's noisy, really crowded marketplace, a strong brand is more important now than ever.
It's what helps you stand out from the competition, attract the right customers, and build that long-term loyalty. It's what makes people choose your product over all the countless other options available.
But building a strong brand doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, effort, and a consistent commitment to delivering on your promises. Fried and Hansen offers some great advice on how to cultivate a brand that really resonates with your target audience.
They emphasize the importance of authenticity, transparency, and consistency. People can spot a fake a mile away. If you're not genuine, if your actions don't align with your words, people will see right through it.
They also encourage businesses to focus on what makes them unique, to find their niche and really own it. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Figure out what you do best, what you're passionate about, and build your brand around that.
They even encourage embracing your quirks and imperfections. Those are the things that make you memorable, that make you stand out from the crowd.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to be a little different. In fact, in today's world, being different is often the best way to get noticed. Embrace your unique perspective and let it shine through in everything you do.
And remember, your brand isn't something that you create and then forget about. It's something that you have to nurture and cultivate over time. It's an ongoing process that requires constant attention and refinement.
But if you invest the time and effort, building a strong brand can be one of the most valuable assets that your business can have. It can be the difference between struggling to get by and building a thriving, successful business that you're truly proud of.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into rework. From embracing obscurity to thinking like a drug dealer to building a strong brand, Fried and Hansen have challenged us to really rethink that conventional marketing wisdom. What are some key takeaways that our listeners can start implementing today?
I think one of the most important takeaways is the power of being different. In a world where everyone is trying to fit in, standing out can be your greatest asset. Don't be afraid to challenge conventions, to break the mold, and to be yourself.
Another key takeaway is the importance of building a genuine connection with your audience. It's not about shouting at people through advertising or trying to manipulate them with marketing tricks. It's about sharing your story, your insights, and your expertise in a way that's authentic, engaging, and valuable.
Yeah, build relationships, provide value, and be patient. It takes time to build trust and loyalty, but it's well worth the effort.
And finally, remember that marketing isn't a one-time event or a quick fix. It's an ongoing process that requires consistent effort, a long-term vision, and a willingness to adapt and evolve as your business grows and changes.
Embrace the unconventional wisdom of Fried and Hansen, and don't be afraid to experiment and try new things. You might be surprised at what you discover.
Well, that was a whirlwind tour through some of the key ideas in Chapter 7 of Rework, but we're not done yet.
So are you ready to wrap up our deep dive into rework? We've covered a lot of ground, from embracing obscurity to building a strong brand. But there's one final piece of the puzzle that Fried and Hansen, they want us to consider.
Yeah, I'm all ears. What's the ultimate goal of all this unconventional marketing wisdom?
It's about building something that lasts, something that has like a real impact on the world. They call it leaving a dent in the universe.
That's a powerful image, isn't it? It's about creating something that's bigger than yourself, something that makes a real difference. And they believe that every business, no matter how small, has the potential to do this.
Yeah, it's not about becoming like a billion-dollar company or a household name. It's about making a meaningful contribution to the world, whether that's solving a problem, improving people's lives, or simply creating something beautiful and enduring.
It's about aligning your business with a purpose, a mission that goes beyond just making a profit. It reminds me of those companies that donate a portion of their proceeds to charity, or that build their entire business model around sustainability or social impact. They're not just selling products or services, they're making a statement about what they believe in.
Exactly. And when you align your business with a purpose, everything else kind of falls into place. Your marketing becomes more authentic, your products become more meaningful, and your customers become more loyal because they feel like they're part of something bigger.
It's like that feeling you get when you support a local business that's really invested in the community. You're not just buying a product, you're supporting a cause, a vision, a way of life.
Precisely. And Fried and Hansen, they challenge us to think about our legacy, to ask ourselves what we want to be remembered for. What mark do we want to leave on the world? What will people say about our businesses long after we're gone?
It's a big question, but it's one worth pondering. It's about finding your why. You know your reason for being, and letting that purpose guide everything you do.
And when you do that, you create something truly special. A business that not only succeeds, but also make a positive impact on the world. It's about building a business that matters.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into rework, I want to leave you with this thought. What dent do you want to leave in the universe?
What will be your legacy? Think about it. Embrace the unconventional wisdom of Fried and Hansen and go out there and make your mark on the world.
This has been The Deep Dive. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of Rework's bold and unconventional approach to promotion if you're ready to challenge the status quo and build a business that truly stands out. We highly recommend picking up a copy of Rework and diving in yourself. You might be surprised at what you discover.